Welcome back to another episode of Consciously Clueless. I'm your host, Carly, and I'll be your guide on this journey from consciousness to cluelessness and back around again. Thanks for joining me for another Sunday solo episode. Whether it's Sunday night and you're getting ready for your week, Monday morning and you're on your way to work, or whatever day this podcast has found you, I'm really glad you're here. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness, or is it preventing you from achieving your goals? By now, you all know that therapy is an important part of my self-care. It has truly been a game changer in every aspect of my life. BetterHelp is the largest online counseling platform worldwide. They are changing the way people get help with facing life's challenges by providing convenient, discreet, and affordable access to a licensed therapist. BetterHelp makes professional counseling available anytime, anywhere, through a computer, tablet, or smartphone. You can start communicating within 48 hours. It's not a crisis line, it's not self-help, it is professional counseling done securely online. And I have a special offer for you. Visit betterhelp.com/Carly and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. By using this code, you get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Carly. Take care of yourself today. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. All right, everybody. So this is the 100th episode of the podcast. 100. Whoa. I can't even really wrap my head around that and can't believe I'm saying that already. It has been over a year now since I started this, and now we're at 100 episodes. It's absolutely wild. So of course, first of all, I have to thank each and every person listening because, without you, it really wouldn't be the same. It is quite amazing to know that there are people tuning in every week, listening to what I have to say, learning, sharing with their friends, growing, and hopefully laughing, maybe crying. I don't know. It's just pretty great to know that there are people listening to what I have to say. When I started this podcast over a year ago now, it really was, it feels like a decision that I've been thinking about a lot and somehow at the same time also was on a whim, because it was one of those things I had joked about and said, like, I should have a podcast. I should do that someday. That'd be really good. I think that'd be a good job for me. But that was without actually knowing how to run a podcast. Like, those were just flippant comments that were true. I did really believe that. But they weren't really grounded in any real reality that would happen soon. I saw it always as like a someday thing. But I was in a really bad place. I was in a dark place mentally. It was a few months into the pandemic. I was living alone for the first time in years. It was a whole lot. And still, I'll recognize that I had it so much easier than so many people over the last couple years. But for me, I was in a pretty dark place, and this idea, for some reason, kept coming to my mind. Like, you should look into how to start a podcast. So I started doing some research, and I thought, maybe now's the time. I don't know why I thought now was the time at that point, but I just did. So I bought a microphone, and I went for it. And here we are. And honestly, the growth from, well, for starters, just doing a podcast, turns out there is a lot you have to learn as you go or know about running a podcast. And I was doing all of that as I went, which it worked, it worked. I would maybe help someone or guide someone to do things a little differently and have some more knowledge, but hey, we're here and it worked. So I learned that kind of really tangible, hands-on process stuff of how to run a podcast, and also just the idea of learning something new, which is so good for you. But then there were all these lessons that came out from all the conversations I had with guests, and also some of the solo episodes that I put out that were really near and dear to my heart, like the series on depression. Whatever it is, it became this place where I was learning and evolving in such a different way, and I really attribute a lot of that to the podcast. And I feel like there's so much good information from the past year that needs to be compiled somehow, and not just in a podcast format, because it already is, but I have a very special announcement or exciting announcement to make. Something I've talked about for even longer than dreaming of being a podcast host is being a published author. And I mean, I've talked about being a published author since I was a kid. I was always writing or reading, but most likely always had a journal on me. I still do. And I didn't really know what. I would write stories and poetry. I still write poetry, but that's usually just for me. But I knew I wanted to be a published author. And this idea of, wow, I can't believe 100 episodes have come and went on the podcast. There's so much stuff there. What if people don't listen to it? I want that information available somehow. So maybe you can see what's coming, but the announcement is that I'm writing a book. Oh my gosh, because I'm a glutton for punishment and I'm adding something else to my to-do list? Maybe, but also because I think it is time. It is time, and I have all of these resources right in front of me, begging me to use them. So it is going to be narrative, things about life from my perspective, woven in with lessons about how to live a more conscious life according to all the amazing people that I talk to. So for all these different subjects, all these different pathways, and it's going to be great. I think it's going to be really great, and I'm excited to continue sharing the process. This is like the first time I've really announced it anywhere besides my friends and family who have had to listen to me talk about this for, years now. But that brings me to my next point, which is, if you are on Patreon, or if you've been thinking about it, now might be the time, because Patreon subscribers are going to not only get all of the stuff that you already get, the yoga and the vegan tips and just general like self-love and community, which obviously that's great already, but you're going to get exclusive behind the scenes information and updates about the book. You'll be involved. If you're at a certain level, you will have your name in the book. You will be thanked as a supporter, because it takes all of you to help me make these dreams come true, right? So I'm really excited. Take a look at that. See what those updates are. Either way, I'm writing a book. We're on episode 100. It's a big day. I am feeling very excited. Also a teensy bit nervous, since now it's out there and it's happening and it's time to follow through, but mostly excited. And I want to say thank you again for being on this journey with me. It really means the world, and I cannot wait to see what the next 100 episodes have in store for us. Thanks for listening to another episode of Consciously Clueless. If you enjoyed that episode, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. If you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead, leave a review and help other people see this podcast. If you want to help me get it into the ears of even more listeners, send it to a friend, text it to a family member, share on social media. Whatever you can do really helps me out. And don't forget to head over to patreon.com/consciouslycarly for behind the scenes content, yoga videos, vegan tips, and so much more. And finally, if you're in the mood for a little self-love boost, head to consciouslycarly.com and check out the new self-love reset course. Until next time.